Hello there and welcome to Heart Explained Therapy, and I'm going to talk about something that might be crucial at the moment, and that's how you deal with loss and the loss of somebody in the family or a close friend. It would be happening a lot at the moment with COVID. We're losing people every single day. It's really bad, and there's lots of worry and attachment that's going to come with the issue of COVID in general. But I'm going to focus directly on how to handle losing somebody, because nobody really knows how to do it. I don't think there is a textbook way of how to handle it. You don't have a degree in dealing with death, and there's not many great books out there. There's not a book on loss or grief. It's not a nice subject. No, it wouldn't sell because nobody wants to talk about it. So I think the best way to confront this is I'll tell you the certain things, what not to do, and I will give a few suggestions. And remember, you're going to handle this in your, complete, unique way with how you handle pain and stress as you normally do. But there might just be some good tips that you can get from this. One thing in my sort of short history of time, at the age of 37 now, I've come across a lot of people who have lost somebody, family members, friends, and it's quite interesting that one of the definite themes seems to be, and I've experienced this for myself and I lost mine now, that you, for some reason, you seem to connect a strange bit of guilt to the situation. It's almost like you make up a story. Now, I'm not sure whether this is I don't think the actual guilt is factual. I just think it's a sort of survival mechanism to direct the loss away from the external event, the death, and make it a bit more internal for yourself and blame yourself. Now, this is usually a guilt of you could have done more whilst this person was alive. You feel that you could have acted in a better way and been there more for them and stuff like this. And I'm sure that you've got other twists that they asked me to come round on the Tuesday and I didn't go, I was too busy. And this is a sort of guilt that's really going to mess you up if you hold on to this. So if you have lost somebody, do away with this guilt. It's an instinct, it's a reaction from you to feel some pain that, you lost that person through depression, through illness, and you couldn't be there for them. Now remember, not to beat yourself up about that. You can't, in hindsight, it's great to look back and think you should have done something, but you couldn't, and you wouldn't, given a second opportunity, you would just act exactly the same. So this is important, not to have that extra bit of guilt, because we're trying to deal with you losing someone. We don't need to paint the picture any worse than it already is. Another thing that I've noticed with grief and pain about anything really, any sort of problem, especially to do with loss, we don't feel the right emotion, we don't absorb it. It's almost like we can ego defend the loss and just carry on with work, and work will become the distraction, or carry on with I'm absolutely fine, I'm just going to have a little drink and I'm totally fine, I don't have any feelings to speak about. And this is a cultural thing. This is a thing from our society where it's not normal to sit there and discuss any sort of negativity or bad news. So bring this to somebody's attention, someone that you can talk to, and tell them about the feelings that come up, the feelings, not just the words, not just the easy words and it's an ego defence, but the real raw feelings of, oh my God, I'm going to lose this person. I can remember all this positive stuff that they do. I can, and talk about the negative stuff. Admit the swine that your mum and dad was, or nan and granddad was. It's okay to acknowledge their negativity, their flaws. It's an appreciation of being human. It will do you good to accept both counts. Because if you've got any guilt, guilt can work in a very funny way. If you're bitter and resentful to this person, but you obviously miss them and you didn't want them to pass away, but you had a little bit of, they loved Bobby more than me, or I didn't get the gifts at Christmas, they always spoiled somebody else. This will eat away at you. This will be just as bad as the other guilt that I spoke about. So just get everything on the table, just own up to the loss and talk about it freely. Make light of the energy. This is the strange thing about, if your uncontrolled emotions take over, you suppress them and they turn into mental health problems, and they turn into physical problems, and they basically become your behaviour, and you externalise a problem that your unconscious is you just suppressing or not dealing with an emotion. So this is why I talk a lot about making light of the emotional energy, because that's you playing with that emotion now. You're coming to terms with grief on your terms, rather than the grief coming to terms with you via mental health or physical ailments, which we don't need. And then you get lost in those sort of feedback loops and them cycles where it's just, I feel guilty, I have an ailment, that makes me stressed out, I can't sleep because of the anxiety, and it's all just one big mess. And it starts off with not dealing the raw emotions. So get everything out on the table. Speak with other people, that's important. Family and friends. Now, what you also have to remember is, you're not the only one dealing with this loss. There's a ripple of effect that goes across the board. Now this is important, because when you see your father or mother, somebody who's in close contact with this person that you've lost, is doing a certain behaviour and you just think they've gone mad or they've gone crazy, try and just remember that you dealt with a pain in your own unique way, whether that's just to carry on not normal, or suppress it and bring it out another time, or talk about it, whatever it is. Every other person's way is unique to them. They might not do the same things. So when you see this behavioural problem, this change, something odd, or you think it looks like anxiety, or you think it looks like actually anger or rage or a bit of nastiness, or dad's suddenly gone a bit spiteful now, or his mum's gone a bit forgetful since dad's gone. Don't just jump to conclusions of, oh my god, that's dementia, oh my god, she probably hasn't took her tablets. Think about it in a way of, it's a behaviour that is engaging her emotions in the only way that she knows how, and look at it through this and be the helper. There's a great way to deal with loss is to help other people. Now you could say this is a way to suppress your own feelings, but I think that if you can only really help other people when you've come to terms with the grief and loss. And I think that it's not just an ego defence to help somebody else, it's actually a conscious thing, because you've right, I've dealt with 60% of this loss. I feel like I've got the anger and the rage and the guilt and the pain away from it, and now I can be there at some sort of level for somebody else, and it's rewarding for you, and it'd be rewarding for that person to have somebody who's, and I'm going to be completely honest, nobody truly knows the master plan on how to deal with loss or grief. If we could all write it into an educational system where it was normal and we learnt about it before loss ever occurred, we could deal with it. But we're so uniquely individual and we respond so different to life in general that it's very hard to make a 10-minute video to give you the master plan. But I hope there's a few good tips there on how to deal with the worst case scenario, the one thing that we all don't ever want to happen to a loved one, and that's loss, and to lose somebody. And I think I'm going to end it on the final straw, which is it's okay to be emotional. It's good to cry. It's good to release that energy. And if you want to be angry and you want to have that guilt, and you do really feel that guilt is warranted, and you have got this anger and rage that you've probably never released before, release that too. Don't be afraid to have a moment all on your own in the bedroom or out in a country field and just scream and purge and rage. It's like, release this energy. You don't want to suppress it, and you don't want to keep it inside, because that's when it turns into a negative thing for yourself, and it'll come out subconsciously anyway. So you might as well consciously meet it face on and just have a good old scream, a good old rant, and feel bad to feel good again.